BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. And today, I'd like to get right into it as usual. As many of you know, I have just come back from Peru with about 14 other beautiful, wonderful Kundalini activated or awakened individuals, and we went down to a place in Ture, Peru, to explore the effects of the jungle tea Ayahuasca upon those who are already awakened. And boy, did we get a wonderful, beautiful, joyful experience from this. And right here at the ashram, I have Santara and Rosemary joining me for this program, and I'm very grateful to have them. And I also see Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, who also joined us. She's in the chat room right now, and I want to say hello to Elizabeth, even though it looks like she has just logged out. For those of you that are in the chat room, this BlogTalk Radio has this weird habit of just kind of logging you out, whether you want it or not. And so I want to apologize on behalf of them for logging you out. There's Elizabeth. She logged back in. So we went down there. This is the first time for most of us having ever even considered doing the ayahuasca. I mean, the question comes to mind, why even do it if you've already got Kundalini awakened? Well, let me tell you, there's always further to go within the corporeal system infused by the Kundalini. There's always a further horizon. There's always a further signpost to move into, and I think many of us received that signpost, and it was really, really, really beautiful. You just heard some sort of a phone noise there. My apologies. I can basically tell you of my experience with this. And we did 4 ceremonies with about, at the most, a 2-day processing time between the ceremonies. And in the shaman's opinion, that was not quite enough time, but this is what we were guided to do, and this is kind of like what the Kundalini in us, myself, and other people felt was doable by us, and we indeed did do this, and it did indeed have very, very strong results. And one of the strongest results was the level of detox that a person would go through as they were taking the tea and during the ceremony and things of that nature. So it was very, very fantastic. It was very, very majestic. I myself, I don't know if any of you have heard of the columns or the walls of the 1,000 blue eyes that a lot of people that take DMT see, and that Alex Gray has painted in some of his paintings. It's basically a wall of connected blue eyes, wide open and staring. And I saw that column. And I also saw a lot of peacock eyes as well, as in the peacock feather. And these would stretch off into the distance as part of the landscape, more accurately, the floorscape. And in some of my experiences, actually all of my experiences, the divine would show itself as an opening in the visual ceiling. So what you might consider the upper right field of vision would develop a crack, or as if a part of a ceiling tile was coming down, and the whole area would be bathed in this yellow golden light. Quite beautiful, quite beautiful. This does have a purgative effect on people, and one of the things that most people don't really enjoy about it is the the vomiting and things of that nature. But once you're inside of the phenomena, the vomiting becomes a very, very distant irritation. It's nothing that you would stop your experience with in order to not have. There were some people in the ceremony with us that would really, really, really resist it, and I actually have to admit, during the second ceremony and the first ceremony, I was really resisting it. But I had to let it go. I had to let that come, and I had to experience what that purgative thing, and even the vomit itself took on a very enlightened quality. You could see lights in the vomit and different colors and things of that nature. I had a strange kind of a situation with regards to my ayahuasca ceremonies, as I was there to also help others inside of their perhaps difficult experiences. It really unleashes a strong level of detoxification, and even more so when you encounter the divine, which I did on every single ceremony. That encounter with the divine pushes any impurities out of your system, and the way it pushes it out of the system is by giving you like great levels of drainage or a cough, as I have right now. I actually have both of those scenarios right now. If some of you have read the groups, you know that I came right back into a suicide. One moment, please. I came right back into a suicide here with one of my best friend's wife. Decided to do that to herself and to her family, to her loved ones, and so that's been a very difficult encounter with the foibles of human nature, and how we're always seeking to find a better path or an easier path or a path that delivers more completeness with us. And it's interesting because we came down to Peru with that very same intent. We came down to explore the limits of our Kundalini and what our already awakened Kundalini would show us while under the influence of ayahuasca. I must say that the shaman, Alonso del Rio, and his wife were absolute angels, absolutely beautiful people. They have a very strong anti-corruptive ethic. It's a very safe place to do that, and I may be leading another expedition down there to the small poverty-stricken town of Tere, which one has to kind of walk through in order to get to his ashram down there. Much of the emphasis on the experience down there was on levels of detoxification. We were fed very, very specific foods by Valdi, Alonso del Rio's wife, and these foods were designed to lighten our being and to detoxify us away from some of the harder and more artificial foods that we had been used to eating. They have a very, very natural system. Like, say, the sewage system is just really amazing there. They don't waste anything, and the actual fecal matter builds the soil in many areas, and they let that to kind of proliferate for a little while before they plant in it. And so it's a very, very tight system of reuse and the honoring of Mother Nature, which ties right in really to the Shakti Kundalini and how we're directed within the Shakti Kundalini to appreciate the world that we live upon. Anyway, so many people were assuming the different expressions of the Kundalini. One person was the serpent, and they would slither out to the middle of the floor. Another person was the jaguar, and they would hiss and show their claws. And actually, a couple of people were the jaguar, really. Many other people were actually paralyzed. They couldn't move, and they were forced to watch and to experience what was happening to them within their experience. It was very, very, very interesting to have that, because in many ways the ayahuasca opens the door to the Kundalini, and the Kundalini, as many of you know, will have its way with you. And so you can be paralyzed, and you can have your head turned a certain way, or you can be seen, you can be given certain visions, you can have some really, really interesting phenomena that you are not in control of. And so once again, this merges within the Kundalini expression quite nicely. One caveat with regards to the ayahuasca is that people can use this as a short path and kind of an addiction to not having to do the hard work at home. You know, they just take that little vial of tea and then off you go. You don't have to do your Kundalini practice. You don't have to do your forgivenesses. You don't have to do your tolerances. You don't have to pay attention to your teacher. You don't have to do any of these things, because you now have access to this short little path, and the short little path will take you right straight into the divine. But I have news for you. The divine knows exactly what it is you're doing, and it knows exactly within a Kundalini context how you may be avoiding the actual hard work, and this will begin to push a stronger level of detox within the individual. And the individual, based upon their positive or negative experience with the ayahuasca, that will determine what level of resistance to the practice that the individual participates with. And so I do want to really make that point clear. This does not replace your practice. This does not replace your drug-free experience with the Kundalini. It doesn't replace any of those things. And you never, ever, ever want to see ayahuasca as a crutch of addiction that would take away the level of determination and discipline and hard work that you must do outside of your experience with the ayahuasca. You still must do the hard homework, my friends. You still must do that. Hang on a second here. So, because I saw the divine every single time, every time that entered my inner eye, I was given the strong levels of detox. Fortunately, the Kundalini held back that detox until I came back here. And I don't know if she orchestrated it through the airplane and the many germs that are flying around the airplane, or whether it was at Benito Juarez Airport in Mexico City, or what it was, but she waited until I got home for me to really, really begin to process what had occurred for me. And today has been one of the hardest processing days for me. I don't know how long I'll last with this program. I'll take it as long as I can, but I just want you to understand that I would be classified as quite sick right now, as I have the drainage and the cough and the many of the other attributes of a detox. I would like to put a special note out to Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, who was able to intensify her relationship with La Araña. La Araña is Spanish for the spider, and we learned a lot of things about spiders from Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez. Now, for instance, one of the things that we learned from Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez and La Araña was that the spiders like to be sung to. They like to be sung to, whether they're on a web or wherever they are. They like to be sung to. And interestingly enough, after the first experience, the first ceremony with the ayahuasca, I came down the next morning to help Alonso Del Rio clean up the temple, because the temple can get quite filthy with levels of vomit on the floor, and all the cushions and blankets in disarray, and things of that nature. And I was helping him do that. And as I was helping him do that, I uncovered two of one of the most venomous spiders that they have in Peru. And they were not killed. I did not kill them, and Alonso did not kill them. They were released outside. But these types of spiders can be very, very, very dangerous to an individual. And nobody was bitten. Nobody had a problem with them, and they didn't have a problem with anybody else. And this should tell you, communicate to you the sovereignty of the sacred feminine, what they call the Pachamama down there. and how this sacred feminine would allow itself to be explored amidst the qualities of death, of danger, right there, right then and there. It's very interesting that this was allowed to occur. And so, once again, a great shout out to Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez. She saved my little behind once. As you might recall, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but we were doing all of this at 9,000 feet elevation, which means that we had very, very, very little reserves of oxygen to do some of the things that the ayahuasca would have us do. For me, there was a lot of devotion. There was a lot of yogic maneuvers. There were a lot of giving to the people. And one time, I forgot my coca leaves, and coca leaves are leaves down there that grow naturally in the wild down there, and these are what allowed the Inca runners, the people that would run the Inca trails at around 10, 12, 13,000 feet. This allowed them to do this type of work, to run it. And so anybody that comes to Cusco these days is going to be given an option to have some coca leaves and to really begin to chew them and place them between your cheek and gum so that you don't run out of oxygen and you don't find yourself on the floor gasping for breath in paroxysms of hypoxia, which can happen if you don't use the coca leaves. Well, that second ceremony, I didn't use the coca leaves because I was so busy being called one way or the other in the pitch black temple that I forgot them, and I couldn't really see where I was. It's pitch black in there, absolutely pitch black. And I ran out of energy really, really, really fast. And Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, who is in very, very, very strong, and I believe continuously strong communication with Laranya told her, is like, he's running out of power. You need to go to him. You need to pull him in. And once I was able to get next to her, wow, she was just like the little recharger station, I swear. So yeah, once again, a great shout out to Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez for her many, many efforts to help and assist and educate people about what the Shakti and the Laranya were telling her and giving her information about. And this is just a small portion of what was happening to people. We had an 83-year-old taking the ayahuasca. We had a 78-year-old, 4-year-old, looking at Rosemary, taking the ayahuasca. We had people that were on the lower end of the spectrum, the age spectrum, and the higher end of the age spectrum, and nobody was damaged. And so I want that also to be stated here. And once again, we did 4 ceremonies with less than 2 days of processing. Now, the next time I go, if I do indeed go next time, we will have 3 ceremonies with possibly 2 to 3 days of processing. It's important to have the processing time because it stays with you throughout the night. You won't just go to sleep after you do the ayahuasca. And the ayahuasca doesn't really care about human time schedules. It will just keep working through your system and giving you information, and your Kundalini will climb right on that carrier and begin to really work your system. The last 2 ceremonies, I think, I would go back into the temple and continue my devotions. And this was devotion that was being caused by the ayahuasca and by the Kundalini, and they just wanted it to go on and on and on for a number of more hours. And so instead of a 5-hour experience, my experience has turned into an 8-hour experience. And this may also be due to the awakened Kundalini within. It is located, Ture is located near a town called Pisac, Pisac. And so if you want to Google Earth it, just put in Pisac and then you'll see in the near environs, it's about 5 minutes away from Ture. And this will give you an idea of where we at. You can also look at the YouTube videos I put out lately with regards to the so far I put 4 videos up regarding the ayahuasca and Alonso Del Rio and the other people. And so very, very interesting to listen to what it is they espouse. And, it's very proactive Kundalini, helping people. This is very good. One moment, please. Oh, my God. Okay. And so I'm very, very, very happy that I went. The level of detox is absolutely stunning. Haven't been able to sleep. She knew that I was walking into a suicide, so she didn't kick the detox in until at least I had been able to help stabilize the situation with my friend and the various vectors of interaction with regards to the suicide. And so now that's been done, she's just landed on me so thick and so amazingly heavy that it's really hard to do this show at times. And so with regards to, getting back to the ceremonies, we also did a Wachuma ceremony, which other people would know of as San Pedro. And for me, that did absolutely nothing except make my whole body tense. And I took a double dose, too. He had me come up and take another dose, and it didn't matter at all. I think my Kundalini just wasn't going to interact with that, and then it just basically let me take it in, but it didn't really do much there. And it's a long, long ceremony. It's 14 hours sitting on your rear end. It's like somebody mentioned it was like psychotherapy on LSD, and the LSD would have been the Wachuma. I'm pretty sure I won't do that one again. But others are welcome to it. A lot of other people have very, very positive experience with that. So I want to welcome people who want to have that experience to let me know if they're going to come down in August, and let me know if that is something that they would be interested in. And I will talk with with Alonso Del Rio with regards to that. I was taken into the divine. I was taken into that crack in the ceiling on the very last ceremony. I was taken into that light, and I cannot describe to you what occurred there. I just can't. It's beyond description for me. But I wasn't taken into just that light. I was also taken into the blue-white sacred male light as well. And these things initiated a form of permanent change with me, and I'm just trying to write it right now. I'm just trying to. One thing that I was concerned with, which is why I haven't tried it since 2010, is that I was a little concerned that it would ruin my communication and my merging with the Kundalini that was already awake in me, and it doesn't, folks. It does not have that quality. I still have the access. I still have the wisdom. I still have these things coming through me, and if that's a concern for you, you need not be concerned. Okay. And right now, I'm going to ask Santara Kunalini to come back here.
Yes?
Yes, you're being called to the studio here. Hope I didn't interrupt anything.
Yeah, I was just going to take a call, but...
Don't take it.
Okay.
And why don't you tell them a bit about your experience here?
Okay, so I've missed the end of the conversation there. I wasn't here, so let me tell you about mine. I suppose I had, to be honest with you, some expectations around the visuals that I was going to see. I had read a lot about, the psychedelic and all of that sort of thing, and while I would have said, I don't have any expectations, I didn't realize until it begun that I had, because the very first thing that happened to me was everything went dark, black, after I had taken the medicine. Then, as well as that, I lost all control of my body. My legs didn't work, my hands didn't work, nothing worked. and everything was in pitch black. And I began, I had a little bit of panic, and then I began to feel I was going to vomit, and I vomited, and that was actually a relief to be able to vomit. But then I needed to use the bathroom, and I was unable to move, and I had to go, help, because we were told to do that, and somebody came to assist me. And I made it outside, but I couldn't see, and it was really, really difficult. I mean, it was really, really difficult, not having use of my body and being assisted and all of that. So that was a bit of a shock to me, because it was not something I expected. And when I got back to my seat, I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I was able to stay there, and I vomited a little bit more. And then I began to really allow that to occur, and I stopped fighting it. And, I was saying my mantra, and I was aware that this was all good, and I was surrendering. And little by little, as I, stopped resisting and went with it, other things began to unfold and happen. And the second half of that particular ceremony was amazing. I began to become very, very aware of other things going on, of the divine being with me, of the Kundalini being with me, and the Ayahuasca and the Kundalini almost being one. It was quite amazing. And the songs, the songs that are sung by the shaman, by Alonso, are incredible. It is as if it isn't actually as if it is that the Kundalini, well, the ayahuasca is speaking to me, and it is bringing me on the journey. And as I listened to him, and I went with the music, and I went deeper and deeper into the visuals and the tactile sensations and the messages that were being given to me, and those were amazing. Some of them were from my past, some of them were just sudden attacks or of bliss. A lot of crying, a lot of, absolute love, and it was amazing. And the songs are incredible. They are the ayahuasca talking to you and guiding you and bringing you on the journey. And another thing that happens with it is it comes in waves. So, you begin to feel the wave, and that lasts for a certain length of time, then it dies down again. And the same thing may begin again, or you may, I would have received something completely different. And after the first ceremony, I had part 1 and part 2. As the day, that particular night in bed, oh my God, the processing that went on, it was really, really challenging. Stuff about myself, stuff that I needed to look at, that I needed to let go of, that I needed to detox from, really. And it was a really difficult night for me. And the following day was a day where nothing was happening, it was a day of rest, and you don't eat again until lunchtime. And then the following day, the second ceremony began, and I have to admit, I had a little bit of, I suppose, you get flashbacks. I had a bit of anxiety around doing it again, because I was nervous that I was going to go back into that same place and that I wouldn't be able to handle it, or that in actual fact it would get worse. And so in preparation that day, I did a lot of communication with my Kundalini, I did a lot of devotion, I did a lot of speaking, and bringing myself into a place of acceptance and surrender to the Kundalini and to the ayahuasca. And I remember I was sitting in the circle just before the ceremony, and Chrism would go around to everybody, and he looked at me and he said, "How are you?" And I went, "Ugh." And he went, trepidation, and he asked me to stand up, and he spoke to me. I can't even remember what he said, but it was around trusting, and whatever his words were, they were like a balm to me, and I was able to sit back down and completely let go of fear, basically, And I went up and I began the ceremony again. I took the drink, and indeed things began again, but they were not the same. They were similar but not the same. And it was an amazing experience. Again, it was during then the third And I vomited again, and that was perfectly okay. I didn't have such a problem with the vomiting. I felt it was a positive and a good thing. It was far better than the nausea. So I remember when it came to the third ceremony, I was feeling nauseous, and I said nothing was happening with the vomiting. And the bucket was in my way. I wanted to get rid of it, but then I'd have a wave of nausea. And I remember saying to the Kundalini and the Ayahuasca, come on, let me vomit. I'm willing to vomit. Can I please just vomit? And I very clearly got communication that I was not going to vomit. So I put away the bucket, and that was the end of that. And that particular ceremony was incredible because I had the most amazing experience of love, of the divine love that the Kundalini has for us, for the world, and for everything that lives. I mean, I was given to experience so many things about life. I remember in particular experiencing what it was like. It's not what it was like to be the divine or to be the ayahuasca, but I had the experience of being a vine in the middle of the jungle, and just traveling along the trees, up the trees, and just all over the jungle, and eventually coming up to the top of the jungle where I experienced being a bird and understanding. It was like looking down on the world and understanding and feeling all of life. And I mean, that's such an amazing, incredible thing to feel. There's no words for it. And the whole time my body is moving. That's something that happened to me for every single ceremony. For the whole 5 hours, my body, I was never allowed to lie back. I was sitting up, and I would find myself with my arms moving, my hands moving, my whole body moving. I was, at one stage, I was like a snake. But the whole time as well, there's partly, I'm aware that I am not to go out into the middle of the floor, for me anyway, that I am to be quiet. And I remember at one time experiencing being that cat, the Kundalini cat, and not roaring out loud, but feeling as if I was. And I could just go on and on. It's just incredible what is experienced. And I'm just, at the very, very end, on our fourth ceremony, I was given, the visuals that everybody speaks about. That, first of all, what happened was, it was coming towards the end of the ceremony, and I was actually allowed lie back once or twice, and the Kundalini, or the ayahuasca, suddenly began to cover me with this dark cloak, and I began to realize that I was being buried. And, in that moment, you have to say, okay, I'm being buried. It was in the ground, and that's okay. And I surrendered to that. And almost immediately, as I was covered, I went into this tunnel of light, and I saw the most incredible visuals, a little bit like what Chrism is describing, tiny little moving snakes, patterns, peacock feathers, just amazing, amazing visions. Now, it was for me, it was quite short, but it was like the end of the ceremony and the end of the whole thing for me. I was given to see that. But the processing, I just can't tell you. It goes on and on and on. And even on the way back,
Oh, wow. Sorry, everybody. Just like you guys there in the chat room, I get bumped off just for no reason, too. So we just got bumped off, and we're back, and I'm having Amelia continue her story.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. But I suppose what I'm trying to tell you is that there seems to be two parts. For me, anyway, there was the challenging and difficult parts where I had to look at my own process, where I had to look at my life, where I had to look at all kinds of things. And then there was the part where the Kundalini took me into the most joyful, blissful, amazing aspects of herself and her divinity and her presence. And it is something that was extended, I think, because of the Kundalini or because of the ayahuasca, something that I was able to be within because of the ayahuasca. And in lots of ways, it felt to me like the ayahuasca was the Kundalini, that they were the two that were one. I mean, it was as if they were together in my, in the whole thing, that and the music and just everything. Such a joyful, amazing, incredible experience. I just can't put words on it, really. Yeah. So.
Okay, all right, and I'm gonna hand the computer over to Rosemary, and she's gonna give you her experience with this. You go ahead and have a seat there, Rosemary.
Thank you, Chrism. I would have to say that all this was very new to me. And the first couple of the sessions, we had 4, as Chrism said, and the first couple was a lot of fear and concern and worry and things that I learned later the next day talking with people. It was really just parts of myself. And likewise, on the second day, there was just a lot of nausea, and I was thinking I'd be throwing up, but it didn't happen. And it was in a kind of like a funny part in my body. It wasn't near my stomach. It was lower than that. And as I mentioned the next day, then someone just very kindly said, "Oh, that's emotional blockage." So I was expecting some physical response, and it's emotional blockage. And it was great to know that, and I know that continues for me, not in the same physical sign, but it continues here. I'm at the ashram till Saturday. And grateful to be with Amelia and with Chrism to be continuing the process. The third and the fourth sessions for me were a little bit different. The third especially stands out. Chrism had placed us on the cushions and relative to each other and where we were with our process and so on. And I ended up that evening like 2 arms length from Alonzo, who was the leader and who was generating, and that the Kundalini is coming through him, through his music, very powerful. And this whole 3-4 hours, I was fully present to that energy in a way that was never there for me before. And it's kind of funny, when I realized it right away, when he started the singing, I said, "Oh my goodness, maybe I should be down the row here." But I said, no, and I stayed with it. And one of these 2 evenings also, I was able to bring forgiveness, a whole powerful period of forgiveness throughout my life. I've done the exercise as we're directed to do, but in this case, I was remembering my whole life and people by name that right now, if I would think of them, I couldn't think of their names. And it was amazing and a great gift. And so the third and fourth are kind of blended for me. I would say as well that being in the community of the 15 of us, and a couple of them I had met before, and some people I didn't know at all, but to be with them in the same desire, same hearts, the same struggles even, was quite powerful. I've had community experiences in my life, but there was nothing like this at all. And that gentleness and being able to learn from one another. And I would say as well the family that is there and the others that are there at what I call a retreat center. And they are inspiring and amazing and committed to this beautiful energy being available to people. And for me to learn as well at that high altitude how we were connecting with people who had been there long before the Western world arrived, and to be grateful for that love and that spiritual presence that was there, the beauty of the place and all of everything around it, nurturing and providing that spiritual strength was a powerful gift. And I look forward to being there again. Thank you, Chrism.
Thanks, Rosemary. So now I'm going to make my announcement that I make every week. And here we go. If you would like to help and make a donation towards the work that Chrism does and for the Kundalini Awakening Systems, you can send a donation to www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and in the upper right hand corner or the left hand corner, I'm not sure, you will find a donate button, and it's really easy to donate. You can donate via PayPal or with a credit or debit card if you so wish. I always say that there is no pressure on anybody to donate, and of course there is not. People first of all have to look after their own needs, but if you are in a position to donate, and many of you would like to, well then please feel free to do so, because it will be gratefully received and used in the most positive way. So I'm going to give you again that. It is www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. So thank you very much, and I have a couple of questions that Chrism, would we be able to ask one or two perhaps? One of them actually relates to the ayahuasca, and the question is, what is there to be realized with the help of ayahuasca when one is God realized already?
Well, God realization isn't the end of the road like many belief systems would have you believe. There's always further to go while you're in a corporeal body. And you can have the most powerful connection to the Kundalini, the sacred male, the sacred female, married at the seventh chakra. And yet there is still more to go. We do not reach the purported levels of realization without having to go further. Even Yogananda had to die. Even Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Aurobindo had to die, because they needed to further their experience. They needed to further their realization. And so with the ayahuasca, you don't have to die. You can further your experience. You can further your realization by doing that and taking the short path in conjunction with your home practice, with your spiritual practice, with the practice of the safety protocols for Kundalini awakening. You can do this, and it's very important that you do not become dependent upon ayahuasca as a doorway into the divine, even though it does have that quality. She doesn't want you addicted to a tea. She wants you to really, really, really have this done on your own, by yourself. She wants you to really, really begin to really seriously take this further. Go deeper. Release your ego in even greater quantities. We're talking about people in the Western world here, Western technological world. We're not talking about, a guy in a cave at, 26,000 feet Mount Everest. We're talking about people like you, like myself, like Santara, Rosemary, Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, Mary Jean, Yassine, Beatrice. We're talking about people that are normal and yet exalted at the same time. And so you do the ayahuasca, you experience the ayahuasca, you get an idea of where you're going. And then when you're away from the ayahuasca, thank God it's in Peru, then when you're away from ayahuasca, you don't struggle or yearn for the easy access that ayahuasca can give. You do your practice. You get right down to work once again. It is a great gift of clarity, benevolence, love, bliss that the ayahuasca gives to the Kundalini awakened. But it is not there to be abused. It is not there as the short path that a person could become addicted to. And let me tell you, unless you're really addicted to the dieta, which, basically you lose copious amounts of pounds with. I know I did. The dieta basically consists of quinoa, maybe some rice cakes, some water, maybe some fruit. That's about it. Not much there. So you really have to struggle to gain entrance to this gate of clarity. And once you're there, it's so amazing, it's so bombastic that it could definitely serve as an alteration towards your ability to have the self-discipline of doing your own practice as you have been doing it, which is what brought you to the Kundalini in the first place. Whatever that was, whether it was a religion, a spiritual belief system, a dogma, whether it was yoga, whether it was martial art, whatever it was that brought you to the Kundalini, you nourish the Kundalini first. You do not nourish your ego, the ego desire to visit the short path again and again and again. Okay. And so the different, with the realization that there is more to go, always while we're in a corporeal system, a body, a human body, then the answer to that question is there's just further to go. You don't get to rest on your laurels. You have to go further, and it should drive you to go further. You should be able to have that ayahuasca experience every day for the rest of your life, even if you've only had it one time. She's still working in all 15 of us right now. We will have flashbacks. Just as Amelia was describing her experience, I was going right back into the kriyas that I was having during the ayahuasca experiences. She doesn't go away so quick. So know that, understand that, and realize that with God realization, or any kind of realization, there is more to go. Divinity does not end with the human system. There is more to go, and we have to practice that forgiveness, that tolerance, that gratitude, that trust. We have to practice the inner strength and the inner guidances that come to us from the Kundalini. We don't get to just ignore that now that we've had ayahuasca. That has to continue, and continue with even greater speed and understanding. Over.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Chrism. How to know a person is unawakened if he pretends to be awakened?
Well, that's fairly simple. A lot of people do this these days. They go on the internet and they find out, okay, Kundalini awakening symptoms. Okay, I'm going to have kriyas. I'm going to have entities. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And then people are going to think that I am the awakened teacher. I can now go amongst the populations and give my input into what they're experiencing. But eventually you will know that this person is faking it. Eventually you will know that they don't have what you have. It just takes a little bit of discernment to realize that people are living a lie in front of your face, and you must forgive them and tolerate them to some degree, and maybe separate yourself from them. Don't let a teacher feign Kundalini awakening and then give. Now this happens a lot, people come to me and they say, oh my gosh, this guy was telling me this, and this guy was telling me that, or this woman was saying this woman was saying that. And it's absolutely false. Absolutely false. You're going to have to go within to your Kundalini and stop depending on information that may not feel so correct for you. You go with the information that matches your symptoms, that gives you that extra understanding of grace in the words that they write. I mean, some people feel that when I write words, it's loaded with Kundalini, and I have to say it is, because she's the one doing the writing. And when you read those words, you will get a Shaktipat. And so this is the type of teacher that you want to get a hold of. This is the type of teacher that you want to begin to learn from. You don't want to look at the flashiness or the money or the 10,000 Rolls Royces or whatever it is that a person may be using as a buttress to their realization, their fake realization. You look at what is being done. You look at the fact. You look at the fact that, oh my word, you look at the fact that a person is helping people, that people are getting results, and based upon the results of yourself and other people, you can be fairly assured that you're on the right track. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Why should a person on the spiritual path not go after materialistic things made of only electrons, neutrons, and protons?
Because they are only material things. I mean, we are only material bodies. We don't. One moment. Oh my God. We don't merely. We don't want to grab hold of attachments. We don't want to slow ourselves down due to the attachment to the material world, which is really just it's an impermanent world. We are born and we die, and we go into the great all that is, and then we come back if we need. You don't get to take any of your material possessions with you. I don't know if you've noticed that. When you die, you're dead, and you don't need the material collections. And these can slow you down in your process. These can slow you down and cause you to have a fixation upon that which is material as opposed to that which is spiritual. And it's always towards the spiritual that you want to gravitate towards. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Can a person dream he is God in the dream state, and if so, what's the significance?
Well, the significance is that it's real, it's true. But you have to watch out for the ego getting in the way and making you arrogant. If you're dreaming that you're God, then you're also dreaming that you're very forgiving, that you're very omnipresent, that you're very loving and blissful and helpful. If you're dreaming that you're God, then you're really basically being given an understanding, especially if you're on the Kundalini path. Just a second. Especially if you're on the Kundalini path. You need to resonate with the force of the God, Goddess within you. The Kundalini makes us into semi-divinity. And a dream about being divine would be an aspect of information being given to the individual through that semi-divine context. Over.
Okay, Chrism. I have another question, but I'm considering an hour. We've done an hour, and perhaps we've done enough.
Yeah, I'm starting to fade fast, folks.
Yeah.
I want you to go to KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com, Chrism.Kundalini on YouTube, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 UK.com. Yahoo group for Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoo.com. Facebook, Kundalini Awakening ! Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3, Kundalini Healing. Google, whatever that thing is called.
And YouTube as well. Chrism has a lot
YouTube,
of
Chrism
Kundalini on YouTube, and you'll see all his videos there.
Yeah.
Which and also you can Google BlogTalk Radio, and you will find a list of all the past programs that you could even listen to now if you are not in Europe and you aren't, and it isn't too late. You could listen to another show. So good night from here.
I'm sorry for ending it so soon, ladies and gentlemen, but I need to go to sleep.
And thank you, Chrism, because I'm here and he really, really is not well and also has a fever. So greatly appreciate him being here, and thank you, Chrism.
Good night, everyone.